Okay, for today's notes, we're going to be talking about standard form. We're on page 4-9 of the notebook, and yes, the last set of notes we did slope-intercept form of a linear equation. So linear equations are also frequently written in standard form. So this is something that we have to be able to recognize. And standard form looks like this: ax plus by equals c. A, b, and c are just numbers, and x and y are points on the line. Because remember, this is a linear equation. You would graph it and get a line. So what's special about this? Well, this actually isn't special because what we usually have to do is equations written in standard form can be converted to slope-intercept form by solving for y. So when we see this, we have to solve for y to get y alone to make it slope-intercept form. So let's just take a second to review what that means. So converting over here on this side, converting standard form to slope-intercept form, let's quickly talk about this because we've done this. So when you have an equation, and we'll kind of go through the steps on number 1, I want to solve for y. So here's y, right? I want to solve for y. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the x term. So over here, I'm going to write the directions for solve for y. So you're going to add or subtract the x term from both sides. So when you look at the first one, you see 2x. I need to subtract 2x from both sides. It becomes a 0 here. I bring down my y, and then I have minus 2x plus 3. You want your x term to come first. So it's the first step. The second step, now this one's done, right? I solved for y. So we'll just, this question here, they also ask identify the slope and the y-intercept. So I have to look at this equation now that it's in slope-intercept form. I know that m is -2 because that's where from y equals mx plus b, right? And I know b is equal to 3, right? Because they're just being pulled out of the equation. Okay, so let's look at number 2. So I'm going to go to that first step, solve for y, add or, so here's y. I'm going to subtract 4x to get rid of the x term. I do that, I end up with 5y equals -4x minus 30. So I'm not done. So this is where step 2 comes in. If I didn't get y by itself yet, now I have to divide both sides by y's coefficient. So the number in front of y. So if I divide both sides by 5, and everything gets divided by 5, right? So I'm going to do this term divided by 5. Every single thing gets divided by 5. So I'm going to simplify. I get y over here, and then this is just -4/5 x, right? It can't simplify 4/5, but minus 30 over 5 is -6. So now they want me to give the slope and the y-intercept. My m is going to be -4 over 5, right? Because I'm just pulling it from the y equals mx plus b. And my b is -6. So there you go. So this is what you're going to be doing for each of these. You're going to be solving for y, getting y alone. So let's do the next one together. So number 3, I want to get rid of this x term. I'm going to subtract x from both sides. This becomes a 0. I bring down my minus 3y. Don't lose those negatives. And then -x plus 12. So now I am going to divide both sides by -3. So everything gets divided by -3. On the left, I get y by itself. Over here, this is really a -1. So when I have -1 over -3, that's just really 1 over 3x. And then 12 divided by -3 is going to give me -4. So my m is 1 over 3. My b is -4. So the whole point of standard form is to be able to solve for y and then get it into a slope-intercept form, and then you can find the slope and the y-intercept because eventually we're going to be graphing these. So number 4, I'm going to subtract x from both sides. I get minus y equals minus x minus 8. A lot of minuses there. This is really minus 1, right? So I'm going to divide everything by minus 1. And I get y equals, so now I have this minus 1 over this minus 1, right? This is what this really comes down to be. So it's just positive 1. So 1x and then minus 8 divided by negative 8 is going to be plus 8. You will see this written as y equals x plus 8. They usually don't put the 1 in front of the x, but you know it's there. And then you're going to find your slope. M equals 1, right, because that's really a 1. And b equals 8. Okay, so as you can see, these are pretty straightforward. We'll do the next one together. Minus 4x from both sides. Get rid of that x term, right? That's the first step. Then you bring down the minus y. Don't lose that minus. Equals. Do I really need to write minus 4x plus 0? I don't really need to, right? 0's just not going to do anything. Then I have minus 1 in front of y. I'm going to divide both sides by minus 1. I get y is equal to 4x. So this is where it's tricky. I know my slope is 4 because that's what's sitting in front of x, but I don't have a plus b. Well, what does that mean? I have plus 0, so b is equal to 0. Next one, I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides, and I get minus 2y equals minus 3x minus 14. A lot of negatives here. I'm going to divide both sides by the number in front of y. I get y is equal to, because it's negative 3 over negative 2, the negatives become, cancels out to be positive, 3 over 2x minus 14 divided by negative 2 is plus 7. So my slope is 3 over 2. My y-intercept is 7. We'll just finish off this page together. So this is minus 6x, so I'm going to add 6x to both sides. Then I get 4y equals 6x plus 20. Second step, divide everything by the coefficient of the y term. I get y is 6 over 4x plus 20 divided by 4 is 5. But wait, 6 over 4, they're both even. I can divide the top and bottom by 2, and I get 3 over 2. So this is actually y equals 3 over 2x plus 5. So my m is 3 over 2. My b is 5. And then the last one on this page, I have this x term. I'm going to subtract x from both sides to make it go away. I bring down my 5y minus x minus 15. Divide both sides by 5. So everything gets divided by 5. And I end up with y equals, this is really a negative 1/5 x. And then negative 15 divided by 5 is minus 3. So my m is negative 1 over 5. And my b is negative 3. So I want to point out, we went over the steps, right? 1, add, subtract the x term from both sides. So look, each time I took the x term, subtracted it, or added it. Did a lot of subtracting, I guess, for each of these. Oh, look, I added there. So that was your first step. Your second step, divide by the y coefficient. On the first one, you didn't need to, but on the second, you had to get rid of the 5. You had to get rid of that minus 3, right? That's your second step, dividing everything by the y coefficient. And then you get y alone. You might do some simplifying, but once you do that, you can find your slope and your y-intercept. So that is standard form. The next page, you are going to finish the last 4 on your own, and actually the last 3, 13, 14, and 15 as well. But let's look at these. So determine the equation that best represents the line shown on the graph. So they give you a graph and they give you some equations. Unfortunately, your equations are not in slope-intercept form. So let's do number 14 together. Let's look at this one. So I need to figure out which one of these, A, B, C, or D, matches this graph, okay? Well, when I look at the graph, I know I can figure out the M and the B, right? I know I can figure out the slope. I know I can figure out the y-intercept. So my y-intercept is right here, and it's -1. To figure out my slope, I'm going to plot another point, and if you look, the points kind of line up like this. I'm going to draw a triangle. My vertical is 2. My horizontal is 1, so slope is 2 over 1. I'm going to check the sign from left to right. It goes up, so it's positive, so I can stay 2 over 1 or 2. So my equation for this line should be, in slope-intercept form, y equals 2x minus 1. I got to figure out which one of these, A, B, C, or D, is going to become y equals 2x minus 1. So basically, you have to kind of do what we just did with all these equations. So for this a over here, I'm going to start it. I'm going to subtract x from both sides, and I end up with 2y equals minus x minus 2. Then I divide both sides by 2, and I get y equals, this is really a -1 half x minus 1. That is not, right? This and this are not the same thing, so this is not it. B, I'm going to minus x from both sides. So that was part A, right, that I checked out. So B, I end up with minus 2y equals minus x plus 2. Divide everything by -2. I end up with y equals positive 1/2 x minus 1. That's not a match, right? That doesn't work. So this is not it. Let's try C. So I'm going to subtract my x term from both sides. So I end up with y equals -2x minus 1. And if I look, I have y alone. If I look, -2x minus 1 and 2x minus 1 are not the same. So let's hope, that was C, let's hope that D works. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. I end up with minus y equals -2x plus 1, but because this is really a minus 1, I have to divide everything by -1, and I get y is equal to -2 divided by -1 becomes 2x, positive 2x, minus 1, and wouldn't you know, this and this are the same, so D is the final answer. So for these, you are going to have to go through one by one. For number 13 and 15, you're going to have to look at each A, B, C, and D and figure out if it matches the equation of the line based on what you were able to write when you looked at the graph and found M and B and wrote it in slope-intercept form. So get it in slope-intercept form and then make each of these standard forms into slope-intercept form until you find one that matches. And then for 9, 10, 11, 12, you're just going to go from standard form to slope-intercept form.